Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. This is a little clip from my conversation with Logan Ury, the best-selling author of the book How to Not Die Alone. Logan is also a behavioral scientist and relationships therapist. And in this little clip, we are talking about how to find love on dating apps. What are the things that we can do when we're on dating apps, when we're doing online dating, to increase the chances that we're going to match with that special someone and that we will then make things work with that special someone.
A few months ago, I was going on a few dates, and we were kind of chatting a bit via WhatsApp messages afterwards. And obviously, I turned to some of my female friends to help me respond to some of these messages, as one does. And one of the points that of feedback that I got from some people, and this was not everyone, but some people, was that I was coming across as too keen, and my response rate was too fast. And she said that thing, and she asked you a question, and then you responded to it, but then you overly elaborated on that response, which signals to her that you have nothing better to do with your time, that you're begging for her attention. She, in the dating stage, she wants to feel as if she's doing some of the work. Therefore, you need to tone the hell down your response time and kind of be less like a beggy about the way you're responding to her. This was some of my female friends. There were other female friends that were like, that's completely terrible advice. You're just having a normal conversation. Screw all of that. What's the solution here?
Okay, I am giggling and covering my face because this is such a hot topic that I could talk about for hours. Everything you're saying I could talk about for hours, but I feel honored to get the chance to bust some myths around.
Yes.
So remember, right? I work with people one-on-one. I have the anecdotes. I have the stories. I also work at Hinge, which means I have access to millions of data points around how this stuff works. We did this fascinating research on the topic of responsiveness. And what we found is that if somebody messages you and you respond within the hour, you have a much greater chance of having a long conversation and even going on a date. And so all of this nonsense around play games, match how many hours she waited to respond, and then you do the same. None of that helps you get into a relationship with somebody who's a good communicator, who talks authentically, who is somebody who you can be yourself with. All of that is a way to just maximize a game. And you're not trying to play a game or win a game. You're trying to find a long-term relationship. And so what I would say is, remember, you are talking to a bunch of people. She is talking to a bunch of people, right? It's a noisy bar with a lot of conversations. One of the best ways to stand out is to just engage in a conversation with her and try to make it as synchronous, so talking at the same time, as possible. And so the data on this is very clear. Responsiveness on a dating app is a useful strategy because it helps you get into the conversation and stand out. And one thing that you can do strategically is pretty early on say something like, I'm more into texting. Can we transition to text? And something about getting from the busy dating app inbox to the more personal texting or Snapchat inbox is that now you're in the place where her friends are and you can help stand out. And so generally in that place, I would say you want to be playful and you want to play, but you don't want to play games.
I remember probably earlier this year, I was on one of these apps. This was on Mismatch, actually, that I interviewed the founder of on this podcast in episode number 2, if anyone wants to check it out. There was a girl whose profile I came across who I wasn't I wasn't massively sold on the profile. I was just kind of lukewarm towards it. But one of the prompts that she said, she said what's one fact about me that will surprise you or something like that. And she said, I reply ridiculously fast to messages. I was like, oh, okay. And then I commented on that being just testing or something like that. And she replied within 10 seconds. And we ended up going on a date and actually having a great time. And the spark wasn't there and all this and that. But we actually had a great conversation through the app, went on the date. And I was like, wow, this person really stands out by actually being quick at responding to messages, because otherwise it's you send a message, you wait 18 hours, nothing happens, et cetera, et cetera. It was such a breath of fresh air. And I just never, I guess in my head, because as a guy in this scenario, I think guys are more sensitive to a girl will be turned off if you come across as too keen. I didn't quite sort of put 2 and 2 together and think, maybe if I were quicker at responding, people would vibe with me a bit better.
I want to make a meta point because I think a lot of what you're bringing to me as questions are things that are there's an old wives' tale or there's general cultural wisdom that you should do X. And many of my answers are no. I would advise doing Y. And so I think we could go through all of those different ones, but I just want to make this as a general point, which is that if you were to start a YouTube channel and all you did was study the most popular YouTube channels, you might just end up creating a copy of the most popular people done with worse lighting, worse audio equipment, worse guest, and you are less good at interviewing, right? You're just doing a copy of something else and you blend into the background. Maybe you want to do something different. Maybe you want to innovate. Maybe you want to stand out. And I think that sometimes when we're looking at so many profiles, doing something surprising, creating that hook, showing your individuality is the best possible thing that you can do. Because if you see 10 dead fish pictures in a row, and then you see a guy who says, I spend most of my day on the computer because that is my job, but at night I'd love to play a board game with you. That is different. And so for her, you're talking about men don't want to seem like they are too available, so they shouldn't respond quickly. Well, women also don't want to seem like they're too needy. So in writing that, she's really standing out. And I think it's not that there are no rules, but I think in general, these rules make us focus on the wrong thing when the things that we should be focusing on are be the best person you can be, invest in your communication skills, learn how to talk about hard topics like sex and conflict, treat the other person well, and when you know that you're not interested in somebody, break up with them in a kind, respectful, and firm way and move on. I think if we worked on those foundational skills of human connection and less time on, well, how long did she spend to respond to this message and do I seem needy? I think that that's investing the wrong energy in the wrong place.
Hey friends, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this clip, then click here for the full unedited episode. And if you like that, then do please consider subscribing to the channel. It means a lot. Thank you so much and have a great day. Bye-bye.